Hi, welcome to the Catholic Corner. I'm Monsignor Walter Nolan. Joining me again is my dear friend, Judy Persichilli. Judy was with us last time. We had a great conversation. We'll continue our conversation again today. We're going to continue the conversation on the new age of healthcare, because that's kind of what's going on with the healthcare world these days. Judy is the interim president and chief executive officer of Catholic Health East Trinity Health. Kind of a combination of how things join together. We're going to continue our conversation on how Catholic healthcare and hospitals continue their work to the communities that they serve, especially with their mission and their commitment to the poor. You know, Judy, we talked last week a little bit about that mission and how it went back over 100 years, et cetera, and how, sisters, religious orders, form these hospitals, and it's almost like a movie that has to be produced in some way. I think that the story has to be told and told and told over again and over again, because it's. I guess I always look at life as a pilgrimage. We start here and we journey, and we don't journey alone. And sometimes what people have done before us, and I don't live in the past. I don't, but I like to look back and say, you know what? There's some great men and women that if they didn't give up so much of their time and talent, and it could be our own families, our own parents, and God knows what, but we wouldn't be here in the steps we have today. So we want to thank them, but we also want to look, I guess, to kind of like see where can we and the ones after us, where can they take the pilgrimage and even run with it even more. So I know you started out as a young nurse, and it's a beautiful profession. My sister's a nurse, and I remember as a kid, she's a little older than I am. I remember as a kid when she was in nursing school, and I know you talked about your nursing school, St. Francis, with all that dearness and love, and it doesn't leave you, And then you mentioned before at last week about when you were young and the white, uniform and the hat. As a high school kid, because they would go home to spend a weekend sometimes without my family, and I used to love to see all the little white hats and what also was I was always impressed with, if you went to a hospital, like say St. Francis, and you have to tell me this, but the St. Francis had a hat that was different from maybe Medical Center Jersey City hat and whatever it was, and you were always so proud of the hat you wore, and now you're proud of the heart that represented. So tell me a little bit. I know it's this merger of Catholic East and Trinity. And I remember you and I had a conversation about Trinity one time. And I remember I just simply said to you, one, other, each other, and yet another.
And yet another.
And you were laughing and I was laughing. And I said, but isn't that true? Huh? That's the concept of God in a sense, and somehow it's that spirit that joins, and when we join together, we're more. It's almost like there's a covenant between God and us and us and you and everybody else, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And it's am I accurate? It's the third largest nonprofit organization in the country?
Healthcare system, yeah.
Yeah.
Second largest Catholic healthcare system in the nation. It's large.
Wow. How many hospitals?
About 89, I think it is now, but
Oh my gosh.
many more long-term care facilities,
Wow.
continuing care facilities, large not-for-profit home health. Most proud of the fact that we're the largest provider of PACE programs, a program of all-inclusive care for the elderly, keeping people out of institutionalized nursing homes. So we're really proud of that. We have 11 and 3 more in development. That's kind of emblematic of how we want to move people to places that are most comfortable for them rather than institutionalized care.
Nothing like home.
Nothing like home.
Nothing like home. In fact, as you know, I do a little work at St. Francis Hospital. And I can always walk into a room and tell, like, when somebody's going to be discharged that day. I mean, I don't know what it is, whether it's just to get out of the hospital or whether it's to think that, my own bed or my own chair and just even my own experience, that first shower at home is worth all the gold in the world almost, So tell me, now, we talk about Catholic hospitals, and we are Catholic. And we have that whole moral and understanding of our faith, which is a wonderful, beautiful gift. But lots of people who work with us are not Catholic. And they're beautiful people. There are so many folks of different faith. How does the hospital or medical center, how do we keep our Catholicity when lots of doctors, administrators, et cetera, nurses are not Catholic?
Well, it's really interesting when you think about the concepts of Catholic identity, excuse me, standing for the common good, the poor and the vulnerable. You don't need to be Catholic to hold on to those types of values. And we're very pluralistic. We welcome all people, but we make sure they know in orientation we are a Catholic hospital, and there's certain things we stand for, certain values that are so important to us that are non-negotiable, and you need to accept them as well. Well, I'm always surprised. There's never an argument about that. People are basically spiritual beings. They want meaning in their lives, and they find it in the stories of the sisters, the stories of how the hospital was built, and that meaning brings meaning to them in their work. And they just come to us full of the love that we want them to bring forth as they take care of the community and the people that we serve. So I really don't see much of a difference. And with our leaders, we have formation programs. And again, you don't have to be Catholic to be a leader in Catholic healthcare, but you need to hold on to the values that we hold dear. And we've never had an argument. In fact, many of them, they come to our formation programs and they give us the best of the evaluations. They really hold on to who we are.
There is a natural law besides the revealed law, so to speak. And I think, listen, we do struggle in society, and not everybody agrees with the moral values that we do have. But on the other hand, there are so many people who do recognize life and do want to bring their gifts that God gave them, to a place where they can help others. I kind of think of what helped me with this is that Doctors Without Borders,
Yeah.
And yet you don't have to go across the ocean to find another border. I mean, just go on to our cities and into the Trentons and the Camdens and other places that you deal with, and the ones that come because there are no borders. They recognize the fact that they can bring their love and their gift, which I'm inspired with all the time. Tell me a question I have to ask you. Again, going back to when I was a kid, my sister going to nursing school and all. It seemed like they were taught, maybe they taught the same things, but I remember they were all taught like how to baptize a baby in an emergency, and so Catholic principles were taught to the nurses and the doctors. Does that still happen in our medical schools or our nursing schools, or how did we get that across to them in the hospitals and all today?
Well, I can certainly tell you in nursing schools, the Catholic nursing schools, and we do have still the nursing school at St. Francis in Trenton. Yeah. We have a nursing school at Our Lady of Lourdes in Camden, just to give you an example of ones that are in this area. Certainly Catholic principles are taught. And I don't think we do as much baptizing of babies as we used to, because we baptized, it seemed, everyone. Well, so we won't go there, but certainly Catholic principles are taught. The interesting thing are Catholic medical schools. I think there's only about 4 left in the nation.
True.
Creighton, St. Louis, Loyola, which is part of our system, Georgetown, and then there's the osteopathic school, Marion in Indianapolis. I think that's about it. And that's a shame, because when we get physicians out of school, if they don't have somewhat of a foundation of working in a Catholic hospital, sometimes some of what we expect is foreign to them. But like any other group of employees or people we work with, the independent physicians, they're looking for meaning also. Sure. And they come to us maybe not with the foundation, but with a real thirst for learning about who we are.
I admire doctors and nurses. I guess I admire maybe even a little deeper the ER people. Are they saints, or the hours they work and what they do, and why they want to stay in that field? Isn't that amazing?
Well, everybody has a different
I guess.
personality. The ER people are, I used to say to them, remember, you only have 2 to 3 hours to make a really good impression here with the patients. You've got them, and then they move on. Yeah. And some move to ICU, or they go to another part of the hospital where people have to take care of them for a longer period of time. And that takes a different type of person. So are the E-Room people saints? You bet. Are they all saints? Of course they are.
That's marvelous. Listen, I know the hospitals don't stand alone, and I've always wondered, like, how do they begin to join with other hospitals? Is it their initiative? Do other hospitals look for people to join together? How does that actually start?
Well, I always like to say relationships matter. Sometimes it starts at the board level, but there may be board members that come together and say maybe we should look for something different. Not that bigger is better, but maybe together we can serve the community better. And then it always goes to our sponsors. Do they think it's a good idea? Because that's that whole concept of letting go. Because every time you come together in a system, there's some things you gain, but there's also some things that you have to put aside, that you let go. And I can just give you the example of Catholic Health East and Trinity. Both of those organizations were formed when congregations of sisters came together 13 years ago. The most recent combination came because those sponsors came together. And they had an all-day meeting with one another, talking about the sustainability of Catholic healthcare into the future. Is bigger better? Can we bring a foundation that will be stronger and sustain Catholic healthcare to help us make the changes necessary to meet the challenges of healthcare reform? And they actually put together this beautiful vision for coming together. And they said, we will come together to sustain Catholic healthcare into the future. We will do it one person at a time, one community at a time, but we'll do it together. And it's really an exceptional vision. And then they handed it to us and said, now go do the work.
Wow. If you don't believe in the Holy Spirit, I mean, something like that is the evidence of the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
To think that some sisters long ago hopped up boat and look where we are today. Isn't it? Oh, gosh. Living wills, are they important? And kind of what do they pertain? Should everybody have a living will?
I think end-of-life care
Yeah.
is as important as the beginning of life care. There's always so much talk about the beginning of life, but at the end of the day, planning for end of life and what's important to you at the end of life is as important. So living wills play into that. And it's not to ask people to, without knowledge, to identify, I don't want this or I want that, but to educate people that at the end of life, if they cannot make decisions, who do they want to make decisions for them? Because there will be decisions that have to be made. Sure. To talk to them about support at the end of life. What does it mean when we say extraordinary care? And what does it mean to be in a situation where certain treatments could be medically futile? And how they want to participate in that decision making when they perhaps cannot do it themselves. So, living wills are really important. They don't stand on their own without education. We have an obligation to educate people about end-of-life care according to our Catholic concepts of ethical decision-making at the end of life. That's the obligation that comes first, and the second is actually helping people develop their own it's really an advanced directive of if I'm not able to make decisions for myself, who should do it, who should have my healthcare proxy, and here's what I wish.
I think you just gave me a thought to do a homily on this because I know people probably don't spend some time thinking about it. And the other thing that I realize is that if you don't, now you're leaving some decisions in family hands that's really hard for them to make those decisions for mom and dad or brother or sister or loved one, husband, wife. It's much better to have a conversation before someone has to kind of say, well, I think this is what dad would like or whatever it happens to be, The other thing I was thinking about, I think it's healthy for us. Tell me what you think. Not spending a whole lot of time thinking about the end of life. But end of life does come, and to be able to think in our own faith, even we really believe life has changed. We believe in resurrection. We believe in hope. We believe in love and God's mercy, and to maybe share that in prayer or thought, and say, yeah, Lord, you walk with me through here, and you walk with me then too.
Well, respect life and the dignity of the person is as important as the end of life as it is at the beginning of life.
Yeah. Any misconceptions surrounding living wills in our Catholic teaching that you know of or can share with me?
There's always misconceptions, and that's where the education comes in. There's a lot of people who'll say, well, I'm Catholic, I can't have a living will because, we have to do everything. We have to do nutrition, we have to do this, we have to do that. And, that's because they don't understand that the Catholic foundation of those decisions does not say you have to do everything under every circumstance. It's just the ignorance about what that actually means. And again, it's education. We don't spend enough time on that education.
Probably not even in schools, because usually when we're teaching them, they're young and they're certainly not thinking about
something to talk about.
end of life. Medical centers like St. Francis and other hospitals in the inner city, surviving?
They're hurting.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of people that come in with no insurance, and covering that because with the governmental payers where that reimbursement is going down is very difficult. I think if we continue focusing on the community and what the community needs, I think we'll find the path to sustainability, but it will be difficult. It will be difficult.
What can we do in the community to help that? Fundraising, education, and you spoke a lot before, I think, of maybe some of the changing concepts that are going on from hospitals.
I think the first thing is the understanding that we've talked a lot over the last 2 weeks about hospitals. And I have to tell you, I usually don't talk about hospitals anymore. I talk about healthcare and moving from the bricks and mortar to the community. And what the community can do, what the Catholic community can do, is understand that taking care of people is not just relegated to inside the four walls of a hospital. Support for programs and the integration of the programs that the hospital provides with other Catholic providers, whether it's Catholic Charities or Mount Carmel Guild. Together we're an incredible force in improving the health of our communities, the mental health of our communities, the social health of our communities, the physical health of our communities. The holistic view of the world comes through not just the Catholic hospitals. It's certainly, Catholic, all Catholic providers in the inner city. So what we can do is come together with an openness about what the gifts that each of us bring to the marketplace and how important that is to the holistic health of our communities.
Now, there's that, I'm imagining now, conversations about eating properly, even in our schools. I mean, what the youngsters can, what kind of machines they can have or, or don't have. I mean, again, it begins early in life and even with a lot of the folks coming from other lands, other cultures, to understand. I often wonder, you leave a place, food's going to be different. Maybe how you feed the baby is going to be a little different, or just even feeding youngsters, with some nourishment. Is that all part of the plan that we might have as an organization to kind of say, okay, let's start right from the time of birth and bring them to holistic health?
The concept that you're talking about is part of the community needs assessment, and it's the cultural competency. Do we understand what's important to the cultures that are present in our communities? Are we representative? Is our workforce or our boards representative of the people that we're serving to help us better understand and be more competent to help them understand what's good nutrition, better health habits? And it has to start at birth and certainly be inculcated into our schools if we have the opportunity and the hope to improve the future better than the present we live in. That's always our motto: improve the future better than the present we live in. And hopefully the next generation will be healthier if we all work together.
Well, I often wonder, is our generation healthier than the ones in the past? And I tend to think so.
Well, we're living longer.
We are living longer. That's true. But then I sometimes like to think this. I said, why are we living longer? Because I go back my age to when, we didn't have any frozen food, and we didn't, and Mom always seemed to cook, right from the vegetables. I mean, and we actually drank the juice water, nothing got thrown away. I often wonder, were we taking in vitamins that we never even realized we were taking in, and some of the ways that we might cook today? Is it healthier, not healthier? But I guess that's for the experts to think about, or write the books about, or give lectures on, or something.
Well, interestingly, the International Classification of Disease, there are 13,600 disease diagnoses. That is 13,600 ways our bodies can fail. And in response to that, over the last 50 years, we have approved 6,000 drugs and 4,000 different medical surgical procedures. And there's no way one person can be an expert in all of that. So what have we done? We've embraced specialization. So we're now taking care of different parts of you so that you can live a long, healthy life. I think our challenge in the future is to go back to taking care of all of you. That holistic approach of body, mind, and spirit. And I think that's going to be the key to the next generation living even longer, healthier lives than we're living right now.
Because, Judy, you remind me, I think of my dad, lived to be 89, but he worked hard, physically hard. And, but he also didn't have a lot of, he'd probably get mad at me from heaven for saying this. I never thought he had a lot of pressure, Now, he might get mad at that. But, us kids didn't give him any pressure. When he come from work, it's like, if you didn't get Mom mad, you're okay. But also, I think there was a lot of physical activity that they normally did. Now with us, because a lot of us are doing jobs that, you're in a chair all day or whatever, so now we have to go to gyms and do things that normally I think they might have done way back then. And also, I'm a firm believer, right or wrong, that that some of the pressures that we internalize, some of the stresses, I think create a lot of things that maybe we don't know about yet, or we're just learning about. And maybe they didn't take those stresses into their lives as much as we do today, at least the way I think we do today.
Well, the sedentary lifestyle is definitely an inhibitor to good health. And I think it goes all the way down to children who are watching television or playing video games rather than running around outside. And I think that adds to the obesity epidemic and, the advent of fast foods.
Sure.
It's particularly if you're, both people are working and you need to put food on the table quickly, it's maybe not going to be as nutritious as you'd like. So there's lots of reasons,
Sunday
I think.
watching football with a big popcorn or whatever it is, it's just all very, very good. I just read this, Judy. I don't know if you came across this yourself or not, and I think I'm accurate. Ireland, I think, just passed a law about hospitals and said they must perform an abortion, I think, when mother's life is threatened, or if she is suicidal because of having a child. Now, I think they have to have a psychiatrist or some doctors involved. But if you don't adhere to this, the government funds would be cut off. I think of this because of our own medical ethics and my own life as a priest, and sometimes folks come and ask, for guidance. Catholic hospitals. I mean, are there times that we have to say no, and are there times that we think, how do we survive, and what do we wrestle with in those areas?
It's really interesting. I've heard about that movement in Ireland, and we have Oregon, which has said euthanasia is okay, and these are issues that are being fought out in lots and lots of states. The bottom line in the United States, we have the ethical and religious directives. We call them the ERDs. The ERDs are about 72 guidelines that are published by the Conference of Bishops that we're bound by. And, we do pay attention, and we must pay attention to them. At the end of the day, there will always be non-negotiables. And I think we do. We're coming into an era where we will have some, perhaps, legal battles that we'll have to join together to fight. Particularly if it's in a non-negotiable, and abortion being one. I think these things are going to come. I think this is where I hope that the Catholic hospitals and the Conference of Bishops can get together and have a united front against. But I think it's something that we have to be concerned about. It's some of the laws that are being passed are somewhat shocking.
Seems that there is a growth in secularism, and that is something that we, as not just Catholics, I mean, many faiths do have a moral standing and a moral way of life. Even as I mentioned before, the natural law at times, just people can feel and see the godness of creation and the godness of all things. So I think we study hard, teach hard, and just keep praying, and that the Spirit does guide us into these areas. And my feeling, just I guess looking back, is that we've always had enough goodness and quality that people do respect, and I think that will always be with us. So the relationship between Catholic medical centers and the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, as you just mentioned, it's kind of there, and you dialogue, and do you meet with them, or is there a representative? How does that kind of work with us, Judy?
We encourage our CEOs, and we have mission leaders and mission integration programs in all of our hospitals, and we encourage our CEOs and our mission leaders to meet with their local ordinary every year, and to actually share with them, what have we done this year to maintain our Catholic identity, to celebrate the charisms of our founding congregations? What are the rituals that we've celebrated? What is present in pastoral care? I always tell our CEOs, just don't go to the bishops when you need something.
Sure,
and don't go to the bishops if you want them to make a final decision on something. That's just not fair. If you're going to be forming a secular relationship, meet with them beforehand in the very beginning and say, here's why we think this is important, but know that we will not bring scandal upon the church. We will not compromise who we are for the sake of a relationship.
We're running out of time, but very quickly, I know there's a lot of programs out there now for the elderly, our aging population. One is PACE, going well.
We're the largest provider of PACE programs in the United States. We're proud of that. It's an alternative to institutionalized nursing home, program of all-inclusive care for the elderly. My dream is that we have program for all-inclusive care for the vulnerable.
Oh my gosh, isn't that wonderful? God bless. I told you last week, a saint, pray with us, be with us, know that we love you very much.
Thank you.